Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Forum. My name is Joseph Feaster. I'm the host of the program. And as I say at the beginning of each and every program, my task is to bring to you important people in Stoughton who are doing important things, and that's no exception during this program as well. I am pleased to have with me a person who has done much in the town of Stoughton, serving on a number of boards and commissions over the years, and I believe was even a select board member previously, but nonetheless is a candidate in the special election, which will be held on Tuesday, the 22nd of June, for the position of a select board member. So I want to bring on to our show today Lou Gitto, who is running for select board here in Stoughton. Hello, Lou, and welcome to Community Forum.
Hello, Joe. Thank you very much, and thank Roy for having me on today.
Well, that's great, and I know you are so well known here in Stoughton, but I want to, for this particular purpose and segment, in order to have you tell our viewing audience a little bit about Lou Gitto. You know, how long you've been living in Stoughton, the things you've served on here in Stoughton. I know you sit right in front of me when I was a town meeting member, et cetera. So let's give a little bit of biography of Lou Gitto for our viewing audience.
I'd be happy to do that. I'd like to start by saying to you, Joe, thank you very much for serving as acting town manager some time ago. You did a wonderful job. You helped to make people feel respected and comfortable. I can remember you helped to stabilize the town and school relationships that had been shattered, and the town owes you a big thanks. I want to remind you also that, and I just have to say this, on August 16th, 2012, the Stoughton Patch article says, when you and Chief Doloff briefed the Board of Selectmen to tell them that the fire station was in deplorable condition, that's a quote, and should be replaced within 3 years. I mention that because here we are 9 years later, wondering what to do. So on with me, okay? And
well, thank you for those. Thank you for those memories and for your comments, Lou. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you. My wife, Julie, and I grew up in Stoughton and have been married almost 52 years. We have 3 daughters, 2 living with their husbands in Stoughton, Kathy Price, who has 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and Jane Grady, who has a son and stepdaughter. Our 3rd daughter, Amy Mahoney, lives with her husband and 2 daughters in Situate. I'm sure many of your viewers know my very active daughters and my very active wife, who taught school and has been planting and watering flowers downtown before it was even popular, and who, among other things, is a town meeting representative and is the chair of Precinct 4. So wherever I go, I'm known to most as Julie's husband and Kathy and Jane's father. I think you probably want to know about my education and other things. So let me just.
What I really want to know is, in terms of, you have been so committed. I mean, you talk about when I served as interim town manager, but I've been in town now 22 years, and I remember, since I don't live far from you, coming in to the early meetings back in 1998. 1998, and I believe you were may have been on the select board then, but again, I could have it wrong, but you've served on so many things, CPC, I think Finance Committee. So that's the history. Tell folks about those things that you've served on, and you're free to talk about education as well. But
I would like to do a little bit of all of that if I could.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So my education actually started in Stoughton. I graduated from Stoughton High School and went to schools in the area. I have engineering degrees, a BS from Tufts and a Master of Science from Harvard. And I was fortunate to have parents who really put a lot of emphasis on education and made sure that I understood the opportunities that education provides. And I believe that lifelong learning still And in addition to sort of just learning, when I find a problem or an item that needs attention, I do my homework and I provide supporting information and propose solutions, not problems. And I don't just say that. You could go back and look at the things that I've sent to the Board of Selectmen and other folks, and you'd see that in what I do. I'm an Air Force veteran, fortunate to spend all my time stateside. I say this to be sure that folks don't think I'm trying to float along on the coattails of so many people who spent their time overseas in some very difficult jobs, and some of them never came back. I'm retired from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, where I was a senior manager in the New England region. For several years, I was in charge of a 60+ person division responsible for planning, personnel management, and financial management, and organizational reviews for an 800-person organization. I believe my greatest accomplishment in this position was to be the first person in the region to take advantage of a program of hiring Kennedy School graduates through what was called then the Presidential Management Intern Program. Each hire was exceptionally talented. You may remember that. One hire left the program to start a women's shelter program in New Hampshire, and the last time I saw her, she was working as a lawyer for the future governor at the time of New Hampshire. The second person, or another person, I hired about 7 or 8 people. Another one became the commissioner of the Environmental Protection Agency in the state of Massachusetts, and then moved and did the same job in Florida. And I take no credit for their success, but I do take credit for hiring the best people that I could find. And I think that that's a very important characteristic. I also was in charge of an operating division responsible for reducing air pollution. In that capacity, we worked with the 6 New England states. We provided grants, grant oversight, and we also did enforcement inspections and worked with regional attorneys to prosecute cases, including a win at the Supreme Court. I take no credit for any of that work that we did. I had a wonderful staff. They were the ones that did the work. I do want to say about that there was one additional point to mention on the enforcement piece. In our enforcement efforts, especially, we took on all the biggest companies because that was something that others might not be able to do. We integrated our communications into our efforts. We let the public know what we were doing.
Yeah, but Lou, I'm going to stop you because if I continue to do your resume, I am not going to be able to get to some of the points, which will help our viewing audience to be able to know why they would want to come out and support.
I would plead with you to let me go on for another minute.
Okay, yeah, I will tell you because I have to watch the clock.
Good. So we integrated our communications into our enforcement efforts, and we did that so that we let the public know what we were doing, why we were doing it, and how our work was helping the other people in a clear and factual way. I say this because I understand the need for transparency and clear communications. And I practice it in my work. And I'm painfully plain spoken. And so I practice this now in running for this office. And I think that maybe some people don't particularly like that too much. You had wondered if I was on the Board of Selectmen. I've been on it 3 terms. I was on the Redevelopment Authority for two terms. I've been on the Planning Board, Finance Committee, and a number of other jobs in town. I was on, as you would call it, MAPC. It's MAPC, and I did work in terms of dealing with the South Coast Rail for almost 20 years. And that project is now going through Middleborough rather than Stoughton. And I've enjoyed the opportunity to serve the town that I've lived in most of my life. So thank you very much for letting me get through that.
Well, thank you for all that you have done. And if I just want to glean from what you had said, I see a manager, I see a communicator, I see a person who views transparency, a person who wants to bring folks together in terms of making decisions. Those are all qualities which all of those jobs which you had, even where you said you took no credit. Yes, you do get the credit because, like you said, you hired good people. I'll just add two other things to that great resume of yours because I'm just familiar with them because I sat behind you at town meeting. You have been and are a town meeting rep for Precinct 4. As well. So you've done a lot in terms of the town. Why are you thinking about running again? As you said, you've been a select board member on three prior occasions, served on the finance committee, served on, I believe, CPC, dealt with it for the South Coast. I think you were specifically appointed by one of the town managers to that particular, or several of the town managers to that role, served on the redevelopment authority. So why do you want to serve now? What's driving your passion to do that, Lou? Is there any particular issue that is on the forefront now?
The issue is precisely the one that you briefed the Board of Selectmen on in 2012. The fire station still hasn't been built. The fire station was known to require being built before 2010 or 2011 when the first facilities master plan came out. Nothing has happened. The can was kicked down the road for over 10 years. The project is butting up against the South School project now. So instead of having one project completed 10 years ago and been paid off, or half of it paid off, at a much lower cost, what we're doing now is we're seeing two projects coming together at a time when the cost of doing business is just beginning to skyrocket. Some people think, oh, that's just fine, but it's costing the town a heck of a lot of money. We don't have a plan, we don't have a location, and we don't have a funding source. I've asked for years for a financial management plan for the town because we have been playing around and thinking, oh, maybe we can build a model that will say we can do this within our current finances. Well, you know what? That went on for a couple of years. The model never came to fruition. I asked to see it. I couldn't even get a copy of it. And we still aren't there. And I've asked to see a financial management plan, which would have let us know early on that we couldn't pay for that within our budget. That's fiscally irresponsible. It's a job that the town manager is supposed to do. It's a job that the Board of Selectmen is supposed to do under the town charter. That's why I'm running, because the town is stuck, and it's not going to get unstuck until we have serious conversations and mature conversations with the people in the town. We have to believe them and trust them to make good decisions. Just like we did with the high school, we had to ask the voters for debt exclusion. People are afraid when they're sitting in those big chairs to talk about financing, talking about the need for money. Things don't get done unless there's money to put with an idea. We don't want to do that. Look, I'm running for a position. I'm 82 years old. Fact. I have gray hair. I've got 50 years worth of work behind me looking at the town. But I'm not planning to run again. I want to get a job done. People deserve that. And everybody talks around that issue. They don't want to talk about it. You know, the voters can say, no, we don't want a fire station. No, we don't want a South School. And then we'll go back to the drawing boards and say, okay, well, what do you want? If that's what they don't want. But I think that the people in Stoughton, if they have honest information and it's communicated to them well, will do the right thing for the town and the right thing for themselves. You know, I'm an old guy. People paid forward when I was a child. We had the town hall, we had the old fire stations, we had the old police stations, we had whatever we had. And people a long time ago built those things, not for themselves, but for the town and for all the people in the town and for the future of the town. We have to believe that the people nowadays have the gumption to do the things that need to be done to make the town a good town. That's why I'm running.
So,
I hope that's clear.
Well, you were quite demonstrative there, Lou Gitto, and I think you're very, very clear, and you definitely displayed the passion which I've known comes from you in all my observation of you over the years. But when you start talking about what the people speaking, I think in the most recent election that we held, only about 7% of the registered voters came out to vote. We have the special election, and my wife was remarked to me. She said, "Well, where's the information letting people know that there's a special election on Tuesday, June 22nd?" So the question is, how will you be able to get the word out? How will you be able to get people engaged in furthering what we need to get done here in Stoughton? Either through what you do now, but certainly if you were elected to the select board.
To my knowledge, Joseph, I don't know if the election is even on the town website. I know that the town clerk put something on Facebook about early voting today for Thursday, but there was nothing on it before that. So we don't seem to care too much about whether people vote or not, whether they know that there is an election. We've been holding signs in the square, as has my opponent, for the last 2 weeks. We've put signs up. We've made phone calls. We've done Facebook stuff. We've done the things that people do, but we can't force people to go to the polls. And we have to just talk about the things that we can talk about. What happens in an election is the people that get their voters out win the election. The people who don't. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm saying that I can't create passion in you to go to vote. And I know you vote all the time, but there are a whole lot of other people that don't. But
they aren't even informed. See, this is my point. You talk about, even if the DPW flasher that they usually put up on Central Street, just talking about that, street cleaning or leaves or whatever, it's not even mentioned in the special election. I haven't received my Stoughton chopper. I don't even think it's in there. It hasn't been there in the past couple of weeks. So what I'm saying is there something that is missing here? Maybe I need to call the town clerk and the town manager and say what's going on.
Well, I don't know what you need to do in that regard. And I can't, just sitting here, resolve that problem. I mean, I told you what the issues were, and I told you that if I were dealing with the issue, I think communication is extremely important. I think that by being very open, you can do an awful lot to educate and get people involved. But if you sit back, then that's not going to happen. I mean, the passion that I'm trying to express to you is real. I mean, I think this is a wonderful community. The community really is the basis for why we're all here talking about elections. I mean, the community puts together the management of the town. That's how our government works. And what we have to do is help people to want to get involved and educate them as to what's going on, what the issues are. I mean, my heavens, we have a lot of issues in the town. An issue that you and I sat in on last Monday, I think it was the Zoom meeting on the zoning. There were 28 people, as I recall, on that conference call or a Zoom meeting. 5 of them were involved in the in making the presentation. 2 of them from the redevelopment authority, 1 from the planning board, the town planner, I guess, and maybe 2 consultants. Maybe I undercounted. So maybe there were only 22 people out of 28,000 in the town who even sat in on that Zoom meeting. And you will recall that for the first time, we learned that we were not going to follow the master plan for the town for the green space in the downtown. Instead, we might have 6-story buildings in that area in the downtown. Can you imagine going through a 3 or 4 year process to come up with a plan for the town, and then within a month, I mean a year's time, during COVID, just turn that on its head? I mean, that's so irresponsible. It really is. I mean, you wouldn't do that. You're a very good communicator, and you would make sure that people knew what was going on and get behind whatever was happening. I mean, first of all, you'd want to make sure that you were following a plan that you put a tremendous amount of time and money into and involved hundreds of citizens in the town, getting their expectations up to do one thing and then turning that on its head. I mean, how much sense does that make? How much sense? Why would you want to go and vote or do anything at all in the town when you're treated like that? It's crazy. It really is.
Well, the one thing I've said, and the one who consistently used to say this was Ed Felice when he's on the finance committee, that, we were just playing and it goes on the shelf. So, it's just, that's the thing. I'm a person of action, and I know you are as well, Lou. And we only have about a couple of minutes here that are left. But so, I know you've talked about the fire station seems to be one of the, and the construction or the erection of the new fire station. I think the condition of Station 1 is deplorable, was deplorable prior to 2012, and it's persisted again for another 9 years. I think that's criminal. I oftentimes say that I should represent the men and women who are at that station. As far as their, yeah, and while I still feel like putting it out there. I don't know what the union's doing, but those conditions are deplorable and they shouldn't be in that. So in a few minutes, we have about 3 minutes left here. What would you like to say to the viewing audience as far as what you would want them to, why they should vote for Lou Gitto?
I think that I know how government works in Stoughton. I mean, I've done a whole lot of different little chores in the town over the years, and I've gone through them before, so I won't do that again. If you want somebody who knows how to get something done, when I was on the Board of Selectmen before, we built the substation, which people don't like. They can find all sorts of problems with it. But the good part about that? The people work in there and the rain doesn't come in on their heads. In fact, they've got a station to work from. We haven't been able to do that for the main station. So I would say vote on the 22nd of June for Lou Gitto. I will talk to you about the things that need to be done. your part as citizens in making things happen. The Board of Selectmen can't raise money. The voters do that. And if you want to get things done, you need to put your money with your ideas. That's how things happen.
Well, Lou, I just want to say I wish you luck on Tuesday, June 22nd. I think the polls open at 7 o'clock and they go to 7 o'clock p.m., but I'm sure that the town clerk will put that information out. I want to thank Roy Cohen, the executive producer, Rob, who works with him, and I even want to say welcome the new station manager, Mr. Linday. I believe his first name is Mark. Or Michael, I can't remember right now in terms of my notes. And I want to thank David Young and CJ. So again, all the best to you on the 22nd, Lou. I'll be paying attention, and say hello to Julia for me as well, and have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, Joe.
All right, take care.